Hello everyone, I hope everything is great. So in earlier video, we discussed HTML input attributes. As you can see in the list, we discussed following 7 attributes. Today we will just continue our discussion on the same topic and discuss the some other HTML input attributes. So first new input attribute is the title attribute. This attribute is basically used for providing some extra information about the input fields, and this attribute can be used for any input types. So let's try to use this attribute. So as you can see in earlier video, we created one multiple input type file attribute, input type field, and by this user can upload multiple files, right? So if we want to provide some extra information, what we did, we use the title attribute here and give the information you can upload multiple files, right? And save this file, go to browser and refresh. You can see nothing will be updated here. But if user try to hover on this button, he can see this small tooltip that will give some extra information to user. You can upload multiple files. By this information, user can know that with this button he can upload multiple files, and this attribute can be used for any input types. Let me use this attribute here for input type email. Enter valid email. Save this thing, go to browser, refresh. And now if user hover on this input type email, he can see this small tooltip which gives the information that you need to write a valid email inside this input field. So that's all about the title attribute. Next attribute is the placeholder attribute. We already discussed this attribute in earlier videos, but let's just discuss again. So this attribute is give again the extra information about the input fields and how we use this. Let me add this for input type email. Now if user go to this web page, he can see this email message will be displayed inside this input field. That means user need to enter this email. So this will give the information about this field. But this placeholder attribute can be used for limited number of input types like text, search, URL, tell, email, and password, as well as for the number field. But the title attribute can be used for any of the input type. You can see whenever user hover on this field, he can see this tooltip. And again, if user enters some value here, that placeholder not display in this input. So for displaying, or we can say for visualizing the placeholder, the input field must be empty. Then can only user can see this information. So that's all about the placeholder attribute. Let's move to the next attribute, which is the pattern attribute. By use of this pattern attribute, you can restrict user to enter some specific information inside the input field. Currently, this email can have anything inside this field. As you can see, he can write digits, he can write special symbols, he can write the alphabets in small and as well as in the capital form. But if you want to restrict user to enter a specific pattern, then you need to use this pattern attribute. How you can use this? Let's discuss this. So I quickly add label and give the information, enter. Let's assume country code and I add input type text, okay, and use some line breaks so that my submit button will be on the next line. Go to here, refresh. Now this entry code, user can enter anything and submit the form. User can enter digit, he can use the symbols and submit the form. But we want to restrict because my country code should be 3 digit only and having capital or small alphabet. So how we can do that? First we give the information 3 digit country code. Okay, this information will be shown when user hover on this. Right now what I did, I add this pattern attribute. Inside this pattern attribute, you need to give the regular expression. Regular expression is a specific type of pattern where you can give or restrict user to enter a specific type of data. We will discuss more about on the regular expression in some next videos. For now, we will just use a simple one. So inside square brackets, what I did, I give capital A hyphen capital Z and small a hyphen small j. What is the meaning of this? This means that user can enter from capital A to capital Z and small a to small j. And how many times this pattern will be repeated? So as we need to give 3 digit country code, we use 3 here and save file, refresh. Now if I enter 3 digit numeric numbers, then user cannot submit the form, right? And if he give the 3 digit alphabets in capital form, he can submit the form. If he give the small, he can submit the form. If he give more than 3, then again he cannot submit the form. So this way you can restrict the user to enter a specific pattern inside the input field. And this attribute is basically used for some limited input types like input type text, date, search, URL, tell, email, and password. Let's quickly use the same attribute for telephone input type. Just for time saving, I copy these two lines and change the input type to tell and change the label as well. Enter mobile number. Mobile number patterns have different patterns, right? Some countries support a less digit number, some countries support a big or we can say more digits inside the numbers. But we will just discuss a sample mobile number. So inside pattern, what I did, as mobile number does not have the alphabets, we give 0 to 9. So user can enter digits from 0 to 9 and the length of my number is 10 to 11. That means user can enter at least 10 digits and maximum 11 digit inside this input box. And here we give the information, enter valid mobile number. Let's save this file and check on the browser. So as you can see, enter mobile number field is here, and if user try to enter some alphabets, he cannot able to submit the form. If he enter the numeric digits but less than 10 digits, then again he cannot able to submit the form. And if he give the 10 digits, 10, then he is able to submit the form. Again, let's try for more digits again. More than 11 digits, he cannot enter inside this field. He need to enter 10 or 11 numeric digits. So by this way, you can restrict user to enter a specific type of data in the input fields. And this attribute is useful for the input type email, URL, text, date, search, telephone, and password input types. So that's all about the pattern attribute. Next attribute is the required attribute. Save this, go to here, refresh. So basically required attribute is useful for restricting user to enter some values. So currently what happens, this form have some default values and some fields are empty, right? And if user try to submit the form, he can able to submit this form. But for in real situation, for some forms, we have some required field like user must enter the mobile number. He can optionally enter the country code, email, and other fields, but he must need to enter the mobile number field. So how we can make this field as required? We simply add the required attribute for this input type and save this. Now if I refresh page, nothing happened to the design, but if user try to submit this form, he can see that this field is the required field and he see this message, please fill this field. And if he enter some value, now this field has some value but does not in the correct format, so he can see the next error message. So this way you can restrict the user to enter or must enter some values in the field. So today we will discuss four type of input attributes, which are the title, placeholder, pattern, and required. By use of pattern and required, you can restrict user to enter some specific information or maybe field must have some value. And title and placeholder attribute can be used for giving some extra information about the input fields. If you have any question or doubts about these attribute, you can comment on this video. I will provide answer accordingly. And if you like this video, then like it, share it, and subscribe. For now, that's all. Bye.